sins and I drug sin, right? Those are the other downsides to it. But the first time I saw the movie, I developed 13 marketing lessons from them, from how to pitch to how to sustain a trade to how to, as in, to how to build a team. I have to take my team through the entire process, and it really, really changed a few things in our organization, a couple of things in our organization, right? So it's a movie I'm going to recommend, but watch it without children there because he has, like I said, there are some parts of the movie that you need strong hearts to watch it, right? But today, it's not about that movie, The Long Wolf of Wall Street. It's about the need for collaboration. And so I'm going to be welcoming our guest speaker today. Is one of us. I mean, you know, Mr. Investment. When we have to do investment, that's the person we call. I don't know if it's a calculator, but when I met Will is the first man that I met that carries calculator up and down. You know, what Will does not know is that a lot of the people that work with me in my organization don't know him facially, but his name is very familiar in our meetings. I mean, you know, these days you work with a lot of Gen Zs who every little challenge like this, they take it personal. And I used to say to them that way back when I worked with Will, going for management meeting was, I mean, you will almost be praying that Monday should not come because you go for that meeting and Will comes with his calculator, looks at how much your department has generated for that day and for that week, and then will prorate it. We look at your salaries and everybody in your unit. Will look at, you know, the space all your team members are occupying in the organization and measure it per square meter. Then it will show you clearly how what you are generating is not adding value, so much value to the organization, that if you were to individually rent your space, you shouldn't have that much space. And he will look at me and he will say to me, Mr. Praise, don't you think the space you're occupying, that your office is too big for you based on what your unit is generating? Do we need to partition it so that we can rent? You know, it used to be like a direct attack on your personality, but I learned accountability from him. So when people don't meet their target these days and they carry their shoulder as if they have done something, I'm looking at them, I'm like, oh God, I need to bring in Will for you guys to come and experience him. Some of you won't last 1 week. You know, people don't meet their target and then they're entitled about it as if they have done nothing wrong. Me, I don't meet my target. I'm praying Monday should not come because I'm going to meet Will. Thank you very much for all you do, Will. So, House of Saviors, let's go to the chat box and welcome Mr. Will Umunakwe for today's session. Will, you are welcome. Where's Will? We can't hear you. Okay, good. I think I've seen you. Yeah, you're live.
Can you hear me, sir?
Yes, we can.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. Praise your description of me kind of created an impression of a wicked person. I'm not that wicked. I was just doing my job. Okay. And I strongly believe that, sorry, I had to join from two platforms because of issues that we have, the light here because of the changing weather and all that, if you don't mind, okay?
Yeah, that's fine.
Thank you very much. I had given my slide to our lady here to help me share. I don't know if you can put up a slide.
Who did you give it to?
Um, Layefa.
Okay. Okay, I think the slides are coming up.
Oh, fantastic. Can you even in slide mode and let's go to the first slide as quickly as possible. There are two things that Praise said here, and regarding the movie. I have seen that movie a couple of times, and whilst you take away some of the shenanigans around the movie, for where I sit as an investment banker, I it was quite fascinating for me because of the capital play that was so profound in that movie. If you look at how those guys started and the kind of money they made from people's ignorance, technically, it shows you how the level of ignorance that abounds on this earth. And in that ignorance lies where a lot of collaborative activities can happen. So I'm going to start this session with one story that I've told this story many times because the theme of this discussion will be building systems to prosper in a capital play. There are so many systems that needs to be built in politics, in religion, in church, in different facets of life. But I'm going to be more focused on the idea around prosper in a capital play. And I'm going to define those capital play. Next slide. Okay, the topic regarding the lone wolf of in the Wall Street is basically describing the center of wealth. The center of wealth is signaled to be in the Wall Street. I mean, if you look at the size of Wall Street and size of a lot of African countries in terms of capital play, in terms of resources available in that space, Wall Street can put together different economics of the world and put them together and buy all of them. So the question is, how did they get there? Uh, how did they get there? I'm going to give you a story that has helped me shape my life in my build up for resource control as an individual before I metamorphose into the system driven model. There's something I always tell people, if praise will remember, is I've always believed that if you do not institutionalize your wealth growing ability, you will struggle. I'm going to say it again. If you do not institutionalize your wealth or prosperity model as an individual, as a business entity, you will hustle for a very long time. Because how do I know that? As an individual, you probably have maximum of 8 hours in a day to work. But institutionalizing your process gives you complete 24 hours to work. How do I know that? The day you borrow money from a bank, you realize that interest charges do not go on holiday. The day you take a loan from an institution, you realize it does not understand COVID. It does not understand vacation. It does not understand not working with sleep. It will drop at the particular time of the day, 365 days in a year. Wow. So it shows me that some institutions work 365 days in a year because they are institutions, because it's system driven. But what do we do as individuals, as or corporate, or you run a business? I'm an entrepreneur. Entrepreneur, 10 hours maximum, 15 hours. The day you're not feeling well, you're not probably going to go to business. You're going to go to shop. So in those days, you're not going to make money. But when you institutionalize your prosperity metrics, you realize that you keep making availability of capital play, of income lines, even when you don't feel well. The story goes this way. There are five friends. For those of us who learned how to drive using stick shift, what you call a gear principle. I don't know. Please give me a chat on the box if you ever uh, learn how to drive using a gear. Let me use that word. Here we'll call it stick shift, but gear. If you learn how to drive your car using a gear, say yeah on the chat box for me. I want to know how many of us are young people, how many of us who are preparing for our retirement. Yeah, manual drive. Yeah. I mean, you guys are quite old, man. You guys are old. Everybody here is saying yes, yes, yes. Okay. But let me tell you what happened in the conversation about it. Five friends. Gear one, gear two, gear three, gear four, gear five. These are five friends who on their own were individuals who wanted to go to a location. They would made up their mind they were going to go. For example, if you live in Vegas, you probably, if you are in the mainland, let's assume that five friends who live in Ikeja wanted to go to Lake Yaja individually. Gear one says, I can take this vehicle to Aja. I'm the best thing that ever happened to this vehicle. Gear two says the same thing. Gear three says the same thing. Only Gear one to realize that the best of the things he can ever do is to move that vehicle from the compound to outside the compound. His skill set, that is God. Everything has been learned. Every mechanism he has, everything he has ever put into his brain can only take that vehicle from the compound to the road. That's it. Maximum capacity. And Gear one was disappointed. Gear two is okay. Gear one, you have done your best. Let me try mine. Gear two discovers that he takes the vehicle from in front of the house to the main road and he tried to move fast. He discovered he could not. He said, what's going on? Gear two realizes capacity. Everything I have, everything I've been taught, everything I know cannot take off this vehicle. And the gear three moves. And so did all of them try. They discovered no single gear on his own in the makeup and DNA of that gear can take this vehicle to Lake Yaja. Then one man, Honda, Coca-Cola, showed up and said, we can put together a system that allow all of you to work together. And that's the cross of discussion today. The best of you as an individual can only take this vehicle outside the gates. But when you bring the superior thinking, which I'm going to define as a system thinking process, which is what Honda did, which is what Kia did, which is what Honda did, which is what Toyota did, which is what every other vehicle put in a system that brings these friends together to work. And let me tell you, when these five friends work together, there is no location they could not get to. Everybody realized his skill set. Everybody realized his strength. And they were comfortable with it. But because they had to work together, everybody knew when to step aside to allow the other one to move. For example, gear one takes the car to the outside the gate, and then he takes the back seat. No argument, nothing. He knows my capacity can only take me to the gate. He takes the back seat. I don't know how many people I'm talking to here who are running their businesses, who are CEO, who are just gear one in that business, but they want to take this vehicle to Lake Yaja. It ain't gonna happen because system is what creates that understanding that allows you as the CEO, who is a gear one, who can only take this vehicle to the outside the gate, and then you step aside and allow another person. The person is not superior. He just have a different skill set. He just have a different training. He just have a different understanding. As probably read different stuff. Take this car to the next level. So Honda shows up and take these five friends and put a system called gear system and then put them together in a manner that allows gear one to drive this car out of the gates into the road and then takes the back seat. Gear two takes over. And that is how each of the gear, knowing when to drop off, gave the baton to the next person until this vehicle gets to gear. What a wonderful way to live. But let me tell you one of the problems we're having today. Collaborative activities. We do not seem to realize where our strength lies. We do not seem to realize where our energy lies. We do not seem to realize what we have capacity for. So what we have done is to become the alpha and omega of the things we run. Small wonder they're not taking off. Small wonder they are very stunted. Small wonder you've been hustling for the last 10, 15 years. No movement, no improvement. Where we met you 10 years ago is where we still see you today. The only thing that has changed is your facial expression. You have become more argumentative in your process, but nothing has changed. Next slide. Now, this is the market size. In the US, the Wall Street size market is 9 trillion. The entire African size is. Now, it shows you what is available in these two spaces. And I'm going to give you this class is going to be a storytelling class. Then you can find your own story in the story. Okay, I'm going to just keep telling you stories. Then you can understand where you fit in this process of a lone wolf Wall Street. Next slide. Okay, there's a typo error I see here, lone wolf and system metrics. Okay, let's look at the lone wolf and building a system. The interplay between these two. Remember the interplay that happened between gear 1, gear 2, gear 3, gear. They have come again to play here. One of the metrics I found out when I saw a lot of friends abroad and people were working really hard. I was so disappointed that systems were not being built and high level of poverty was created. But in business cycle, as an individual, something happened one of the times when I was invited to a big church in where I stay in Texas. And I attended that meeting and then I listened keenly. It was men's meeting. And that meeting centered around how to raise money for the friend levels of project. And I listened keenly. I discovered the only way we're going to raise money is by offerings. And again, I'm an investment banker trained. I don't believe in those superficial way of raising funds because all I've done all my life is fundraising, capital raising. So I felt this is quite pedestal. So I asked a question. And I said, are there other models that we use to raise money? The answer was no. And I looked at outside. I'm not going to kid you on this. The average vehicles I saw outside were a minimum of $50,000 outside the premises. And I'm going to discount it. Maybe we had about 50. It was quite more than that. When I, like Praise said, I like numbers a lot. So I looked at the numbers and I said it's an average of $2.5 million parked outside doing nothing. So I gave them an example. I said, how many of you currently here are in the capital play of New York Stock Exchange? I gave examples of few capitals in New York Stock Exchange. And to my greatest shock, I had zero participation, close to 30 men of African origin, zero participation. And I said, have you heard about these ETF funds? Have you heard about index funds? Have you heard about NVIDIAs of this world? I said, how many of you are using Apple phone? Almost everybody. How many of you have ownership? Zero. Guys, that was the last time I went there. Because I realized that these guys are too far from where I am. They are currently operating 25 years behind time. Now let's look at selling time. And I found that one of the major reasons why I love them are in that space is that you have, I don't know where you live, but one of the greatest undoing that has happened to building system is selling your time. And how does it work? Praise will be an interest. The greatest thing that has happened to a lot of our African friends around here is shift system. Shift system. And I don't want to use the word 9 to 5. 9 to 5 is fantastic if that's where you're starting from. But if that's where you're going to end up, you're going to hustle. So a lone wolf sells his time. He has 9 hours to work in a day, maximum. On holidays, he will not go to work because he's got no time to serve. The day he's sick, he will not go to work. He's got no time to sell. So the velocity of his fund is too low. The velocity of his prosperity metrics is like tortoise. The velocity of his movement in terms of point A to point B is infinitesimal. It's going to struggle for a very long time. But let's look at the guy who built system. Or you don't have to build a system. You can look at an existing system and align yourself with the already built system. The era of trying to build yours is over. Don't build anymore. Align yourself with ones that are already built. System driven to liberate time and people. Let me give you an example. Let me use something you know very well. Otedola just acquired First Bank shares. I don't know how many of you understand what has happened from the day he acquired First Bank shares to today. The time he acquired First Bank shares, First Bank shares was trading at 32. Today, First Bank shares is trading at 52 naira. 20 naira added. Let me tell you why that happened. Because it's called capital play. Otedola sits in his comfort of his home as the chairman of the bank. Sit down. Remember, he's not the one that built the system. Make no mistake. He allowed First Bank. First Bank was started before he was born. As a matter of fact, every person who has worked as a managing director in First Bank, they are his ego. Listen keenly on this conversation. First Bank has been on. I think First Bank was started in 1904, thereabout, more than 100 years or thereabout. But a young man who is barely in his 50s or maybe early 60s aligns with FBN. And today he's creating one of the greatest wealth machine in Africa. And some of you are here watching that process, admiring it. Some of you have even read his book, but you're not going to do anything with it. You're just going to, a lot of us have read so many books, but we've not practiced nada. We're in the business of reading, we're not in the business of practicing. My challenge to you today is to quit everything you're doing and focus on one thing. We'll get to that storytelling. Stop everything. Understand this capital play. If you are above 30, you're in your 40s, 50, trading your time will kill you. I'm not going to miss one of that. It's going to kill you. You need to emerge with a process that is faster than you. The only process that is faster than you is systems. No more, less. So let's go back to Otedola. So Otedola aligns himself with a system that has already been built before he was born, before even his father was born. And then he does what he calls acquisition, which is my area of interest. You may not have enough money to do acquisition, but you can have enough money to align with Otedola. That's capital play. So what does it mean? First Bank is trading at 32 naira. You buy 1,000 shares at 32,000. If you have enough money to buy 10,000 of that, you acquire. Because whether you like it or not, system building is not going to wait for you. See that train? That train is on its way to 100 naira. Whether you like it or not. That's the way the wealthy souls who understands building system, and which is what the secret of the Wall Street have done over a long period. And it's going to be here. Me and you are gone. If your children do not understand it, they will be swept. If your grandchildren do not understand it and enter that model of system in capital play, they will hustle, they will struggle. How many people are involved? Let's go back to how many people are involved. I'm going to go back to First Bank shares. In some of you, your metrics is you, your wife, maybe one other friend, maximum. In some of your metrics, you're the only one. How do I mean? You're the only one who is working on your system. You're the only one who wakes up in the morning thinking about your prosperity. You're the only one who wakes up at night, enters your car, and goes to work and come back. One man. Let's look at Otedola. Otedola has employed in First Bank between 5,000 and 10,000 staff. So what does it mean? In a system-driven economy, 5,000 men and women wake up every day to work for one man. What a wonderful time to be alive. 5,000. That is for First Bank. We have not talked about Geregu. We're not talked about Zenon. If you put together the number of people who wake up every day to work for Otedola, they're probably close to 20,000 individuals. But you're a woman trying to become wealthy, it's going to be a long play. So what do? You may not be able to acquire First Bank, but you can align. You may not be able to acquire Geregu, but you can align with Geregu. Because let me tell you, Otera did not get 100% of First Bank. He got enough to become the chairman. Meaning everybody in that system who have aligned, even if it's one share you have, 5,000 people wake up to work for you. I'm not sure you heard what I said. Let me say it again. I don't care how many units of the capital play you're going to get involved in. I'm just taking a good look at Otera. 10,000 people work for him. The same way they can work for you. So how many people work for you in your entire life? That's the question I'm going to ask you. I want you to go to the chat box and let me know how many people work for you. If you're in the capital play, put together all the people who work in those places. If you have equity in UBA, everybody in UBA works for you. If you have equity in First Bank, everybody in First Bank works. You are plugged in. Tell me, how many people work for you? If you're alone, don't be shy because we're opening our eyes today to say we got to move. We got to do something different. Building system is not just in your business; it's in your entire process. I've not seen any chat. How many people work for you? Yourself alone or yourself and family members? I want to see how many of us have thousands of people working for us in our different models. Let's look at the lone wolf again. Outcome survival. The best you can do when you are doing it alone, your system, your metrics, are going to survive. That's the best. Because you have minimal participation of people building that cake on your behalf. But too small. You will struggle. And that is why it's easier for people to say, I work so hard in UK, in America. I've got my 401k, which is my retirement benefit that will take care of me in my old age. And that's all you have. But people who have built systems, even when they have left the scene, they have left young men and young women in the capital system still working for them. They are now gone home. So I am going to encourage you to take a deeper dive into how systems are built. You don't understand it to build. You're probably going to understand it to align yourself with an already built system. Remembering that Otedola did the same thing. He didn't build it. As a matter of fact, he's not a very good builder. If you look at all the business he has run, if you go read his book, you'll find out that the things he did himself didn't last too long. So he realized in the scheme of capital play, I'm probably a gear one. I know how to create momentum, but I can't take this vehicle to the promised land. So what did he do? He discovered about himself. He's a very shrewd businessman. So he aligned himself with going to acquire existing systems. And some people will say, but I'm not Otedola. I don't have the kind of money he has. That's where we're going to talk about collaborative approach in system building. Let me read something somebody wrote. In a system driven economy, 5,000 men wake up to work. This means they also work all the people who have the system. Thank you, King's Angel, for re-echoing what I have said. But I still haven't seen a chat of anybody telling me how many people work for him. Um, Now I want to see how many of you who have a lot of people working for you. In a lone wolf economy, minimal growth is the model. Why? Energy is involved. Energy is what you're using to grow. You wake up in the morning, you enter the mill, you work and work and work. When you get tired, you go home. But a system-driven economy do not get tired. A system-driven economy is AI on steroid. A system-driven economy is driving on all full cylinders. So when who is involved is tired, your energy can carry you, Sometimes your brain can't even carry you because you cannot think in the direction of where they are thinking. And that's one of the challenges we have. I'm going to talk about that. You will not move far based on company shares. Fantastic, IT. I appreciate you for that. Building systems compound your growth path. It moves astronomically. Next slide. I have shares in S&P 500. That is a system. I'm going to talk about S&P 500 in a bit when I'm talking about the system model. S&P 500 is 500 institutions in America that has been put together as best firms. Of course, best firms in the world. And these firms have been out there for a very long time. There's one company in S&P 500 that has wowed me for a very long time. NVIDIA. NVIDIA 20 years ago was not available. Today is the largest capitalized business in the world. So when you buy into S&P 500, you own a part system in NVIDIA. You own a part in system, the best company in the world. So I'm going to advise you here. Go back to your economy where if you live in Nigeria, find out the NSE index. Buy into NSE index. If you live in America, S&P 500 or VOs are your best bet. Align yourself with those systems. If you're late in the day, get your kids to join because we can't keep doing what we've been doing before and expecting to set different results. That old order has failed. It's not going to work far. It's got no stamina. It's got no energy. Walking into the system thinking process that has been designed by the capital play. Let's go back to system thinking body. Group of interrelated elements that act and work according to a set of rules to form a unified whole. That was my gear 1, gear 2, gear 3, gear 4 principle that I said earlier. When they come together, there is no place they can go. If you come together and you find out that what you have built together is not well systemized, you can align yourself with an existing system that have been there for a very long time. They work even when the brain stops. This is the one that really strikes me a little bit. Systems. It's not brain related. I'm sure a lot of people have had a story regarding the mastermind principle. The mastermind principle is 8 people, 10 people coming together and then they develop astronomical ideas that one person in that team does not have the capacity. Of course, the Bible is very clear about it when it says one will chase 1,000 and two will chase 10,000. That mathematics does not balance because when you divide the two into the two in of 10,000, you get 5,000. So how do 2 people come together to chase 10,000 when one of them can only chase 1,000? I cannot explain how that works, but it's in the power of realignment in system. Then emotional systems and emotional, they don't understand feeling. For instance, I gave you an instance around interest payments of the bank. I worked in the bank for a very long time and I hated interest, but I loved it because I made more money charging those interest. You don't know what it means when you wake up every morning from an interest payment point of view and it drops. But let's flip it. Assuming you have an ownership of a bond that pays coupon. Assuming you have a bond, treasury bill, you have commercial paper that pays interest every quarter. It also will not sleep. Every quarter on the same date, that interest will hit your account. That is a system-driven income line. You don't need to show up. You don't need to leave the comfort of your house. You don't even need to know what they're doing. You don't need to know anybody that works in that institution. They all work to pay you. I don't know how many of you that has good equity. We have entered March. March and April for some of us who are in the investment banking is a dividend season. Hello. I don't know how many of you understand in the capital play, we have what we call dividend season. Dividend season. Dividend season, a fantastic time where the wealthy in Africa and all over the world become wealthier. Are we going to sit and watch that happens without playing? Because they have aligned themselves in a system that work. March, April, May in NYSC is a dividend season. And let me shock you. Between March, April, May, close to 10 billion naira will be paid out. Let me say it again. Between March, May, June this year in Nigeria, the Nigeria they say is tough. The Nigeria they say is not working. The Nigeria they say everything is going gaga. Close to 10 billion will be paid into the pockets of very few individuals who understood this discussion many years ago, maybe introduced by their parents, introduced by your friends, and they've been on it, creating prosperity metrics using a system approach called capital planning. I don't know how much of that is going to come to your pocket. And that's my question. How much of that get during dividend season? In America here, dividends are paid monthly. Monthly. And like I said, I went to a service where every time we have a project in church, they call us men to come and donate. And I asked one question: how long have you guys been doing this service? 2 years. Okay. Been doing the church 2 years. So the day people here do not have money, how else will you make money? Zero. What a shame. I tried to introduce the metrics that I'm talking to you today, but their thinking mechanism was too low to comprehend what this discussion is. I'm going to show you one of the challenges that you have about these metrics. So we think too small. System driven never has a bad day. On the dividend season, even if you fought with your spouse on that same day, the day they will pay the dividend, they will drop into your account. It doesn't have a bad day. It's not affected by riots. It's not affected by inflation. It's not affected by anything. On the day it will drop, if you go check this dividend season, it has payment dates. Each of the dividend has a payment date. It will not move. The only thing that will stop it from moving on that day is that the whole banking system crashed. That is a system. It doesn't think about it. Should I pay? Should I not pay? Should I pay? Should I? The system has moved. On the said date, it will pay. Do you have anything that behaves that way in your business? Do you have any income profile that behaves that way as an individual? Do you have any way of prosperity that behaves in that manner? If you don't, this is an opportunity for you to plug in and begin to ask yourself, how can I activate a system economy around me, around my family? It's not difficult. It's easy because things are now online. A clear example is that in the cooperative, we're currently heavily invested. Yeah, somebody said, I just get emails that didn't is paid. You may be sleeping, you just get an email and you get it, and then you go to your bank account, you see the money is there. Automatic. If you're not getting that kind of payment, and all the payments you get is the one that comes with your energy, it's hustling. You're going to struggle and you'll not get there. I'm not a prophet of doom. I'm just telling you what's going to happen. You're not going to get there. Forget it. You got to imagine a different thinking style and mechanism that allows you to get an email like Okweluwa Health when said, I get an email and it gets paid. So what you need to do is increase the model, increase the number of alignment that you have. That's all you need to do. Increase the number of alignment. If you're getting 1 email per month, how do you increase the 10 emails per month for dividend payments? If you're getting paid 10 times, how do you increase to 20 times? If you're getting 20 times, how do you increase to 40 times? Because that's how you're going to retire easily. And then you create wealth model that can be transferred to your children. That's the only way out. That's what Teloda has done. I remember one of these days, some few goons, I think 2 years ago, when Nutella bought, I think it was a Lamborghini for the daughter's birthday. I can't remember, but one of these beautiful cars. And then some goons were analyzing that on Facebook, and I was just laughing my head up. I said, it's just one dividend check. Less than 5% of the dividend check I bought that car. And then the next year they'll pay another one. The next year, they'll pay another one. And what happened? He sits in the comfort of his playing golf and collecting the debt because he's aligned already in that system process. That's what happens out there. Timely and never gets tired or go on vacation. I've spoken that. Next slide. This topic is a very heavy topic, guys. I'm just going to try and do a little bit of justice to this in 45 minutes here about. But this is a long haul process that 1 year will not be enough. Talk about it, but just get the ones you can get today and begin to develop a skill set towards system economy, towards prosperity driven by system, and stop being a lone wolf doing your thing alone. If you're doing your thing alone, you're just like that gear one. Alone, the best you can do is to take the vehicle to the outside the compound. You're like gear two, alone. You can only move too far. As a matter of fact, if you force the drive, if you force the car, tell me what will happen to that car if you're gear two and you're forcing to use gear two to get to Lakey. What do you think will happen to that vehicle? I need somebody to tell me example. If you've been used to gear system, what do you think will happen to that vehicle? If you're alone, you want to insist that because I started this business, it is my dream, it is my business. And you're so emotionally driven in the business you started without realizing that you're just as good as gear two and gear three. That's the best you can get. What will happen to the vehicle you're driving? The engine will drop and nothing will happen. And that's what has happened to a lot of businesses. Some of us sitting down here who say, I run my business. There is no grace in running your business. There is always grace in realizing what your strength is in running the business. So you bring people who have gear two, gear three, gear four, collaboration to run the business. And when you're collaborating with people, let me warn you, because what I've seen a lot of our people, a lot of Africans, especially in Africans in diaspora, because I don't know whether that happens in Dallas. You always heard the stories that I run my business. Hear that every time from the company. There is no such. Anybody who tells you he runs his business, average business guy, it's a hustler. There's no systems involved. When you run your business, you realize that even though you're the captain, you're like gear three. You need gear one and gear two. So the day you buy one big vehicle, the question I'm going to ask you is how many people in that business also was able to buy one? Hello? How many? You have a lot of people who say, I run a business, I've bought so many properties, I'm managing. Okay, the people who work with you, how many of them was able to buy? That's how you create a system. Everybody benefits, not only you, because everybody's in the wheel of the system. There's nobody who's not important. Everybody is important in that system. So the day you buy a big one, it is your duty as a leader to ensure that the guy who's at the gate is getting a land, if even he cannot buy a property. The guy who drives you, he's been your driver for 5 years. You move from one house to the other, he can't even boast of one land. Shame on you. That's not a system. That's a poverty mentality that a lot of people are using to run organizations. Like I said, the day Otedola pays himself $1 billion, the guy who is in the gate, who has a stock option, may not get $1 billion. You will get something to his to change his life. Is that the way your business is currently running? Is it running like a one-man business? Make it alone, drop alone, you will die alone. Lone wolf is high risk. What can go wrong? What can go wrong is lone wolf can die. And everything disappears. What can go wrong is the guy can get sick and everything disappears. I remember many years ago as a banker, I was in the loan department, and then we had a big boy who wanted to take loan from my bank at that time. Then he shows up, and then I was going to analyze the credit and analyze the credit, and I found that everything was perfect. The loan officer, the marketing guy who was selling loan, came, fantastic presentation. And I just asked a question. That person, I think Praise will remember the story because I've told it in a place where he is. And I said, nothing can go wrong. They said, so what if the guy dies this night? The guy was sitting in that meeting. He got upset. I said, I'm sorry, with all due respect. If you sleep this night after I've moved money to your account, don't wake up the next day. What's going to happen to my money? NEPA took light. He got upset, but everybody sitting in that seat could not say a word because that's one risk nobody ever envisaged. I said, you run a one-man business. Your family, first thing your family will do is get hold of your account. Your wife will not even believe you took a loan from us. Your children would never, they'll say their father does not take loan. That's okay. That's a major risk. You guys should solve this risk and then get back to me. That was the last time we did that. But again, I found a solution to that problem. I designed another model for that allowed us to put a lien on his assets, and they took insurance on the lien. That's a story for another day. But that's a big risk you run when you run alone. What if you work so hard? You're a nurse. You work in America, Canada. Your shift is fantastic. They pay you good money. You fall sick. What happens? It's all over. You're not going to earn again. But the system does not understand sickness. So I am going to advise you that going forward, but adventure you've not plugged into any system. By tomorrow morning, plug it into the existing system. Be in a hurry. Because time running out. Be in a hurry. Plug into a system. For those of you in Nigeria, I remember when we started our cooperative and we're heavily invested in AXA Mansard. Now, AXA Mansard is an investment firm in Nigeria that pays interest on a daily basis. Daily. So you open your account today, they have credited you 10,000. It looks like there's no money. What is 10,000 there? Because that's the interest you earn for the day. The next day, another 10,000, make it 20,000. In 30 days, 300,000. In the next month, the 300,000 you have begins to compound. It's no more 10,000 you will get. You now get 10,100. After 4 months, you begin to get 11,000 every day. That is how system work, guys. I need you to plug it. You don't want to do AXA Mansard. That's commercial paper. That's bonds. Like NYSC. That's the next fund in Nigeria. That's NYSC is a fantastic NYSC 30. That's pension fund 30. There's so many of these models available in your system that you can plug in. Focus on your focus, guys. We're too distracted. That's one of the major problems we have in Africa. Distraction. It's not allowing us to get the highest level of potential. One of the things you're going to do this time around is to be focused and be selfish with your alignment, with your principles. Collaborative system decays a mind long term. I'm going to show you what happens to long term. Next slide. I think I'm rounding it up. I don't know how many. Please remind me how many minutes I have because because the storytelling time is going to be difficult to stop the story. Okay. These are two stories that have shaped my entire world in the last 10 years. And I'm going to share them with you. They are not very good stories that you can see on average discussion, but they have shaped my mind because I was just lucky that I was early in investment banking. So these stories were quite common to us. Thank God I had to identify with them. Siscandy. Siscandy, I'm not sure anybody praise me, probably know Siscandy because they produce chocolate. I don't know if you find them in the supermarkets in Dallas, but they are heavily around California. And Siscandy is a company that was started in 1921. And as we speak, that company is still running. It's 105 years. It's still running. And it's been shielding, it's been creating dividend model for 105 years. Come on, guys. How many of the systems you have? Some of the people who started this Siscandy have all died off. But the Siscandy is still producing. That's how system work. If properly put together. So now a few young friends, you know these friends very well, Charlie Munger and Warren Buffett. When they started out, this is actually the company that made them the wealthiest men in the world. A lot of people don't talk about this, but you must go back in time to discover the storyline. And that's why I love this guy's story, because you can track the progress. You can track how it started, you can track how it's going. Siscandy, they bought Siscandy 100% in 1972 for $25 million. And in 40 years, They have generated 2.1 billion in 40 years from that wheel of machine of a system. And as we speak today, the company they bought $25 million in 1972 is currently valued at $3 billion today. Guys, this candy is what generated the money that was used to buy Coca-Cola by these same guys. A small system called chocolate system was designed by couple, Flores and the husband Seas, and they sold at 25 million in 1972. And the next people held it for 50 something years and have generated $2.1 billion. And it's currently being priced at 30 billion. Do you have a system around you that has this level of energy? If you don't, that's okay. Behave like Otedola. You don't have to build it. You don't have to you don't have to sound sexy. I'm the founder CEO. There's no accolades to be a founder. Quit that thinking pattern. You don't have to be a founder. If you're not a founder, that's fine. Wait for others to found and create a model that goes out there to cherry pick all the fantastic systems. You and your friends. That's how you create it. Siscandy. This guy generated enough money from Siscandy to acquire Coca-Cola. Coca-Cola was established in 1886, 140 years as we speak. There is no fridge anywhere in the world, except in Cuba. I understand Coca-Cola is not in Cuba, and North Korea. I understand Coca-Cola is in North Korea. Anywhere in the world, there is no restaurant that this system called Coca-Cola, you will not find it. Established in 1886, 140 years today. These guys bought two friends, Warren, Charlie Munger. They bought 6% in 1988. Remember, they didn't start Coca-Cola. That's the one that excites me about systems. You are never late in the game, but you got to plug in. You never come late. This party, it never ends. Come in anytime you like. The wheel of progress of this capital trade, systemized, will catch you. They bought 6% in 1988. Remember, they bought from somebody who sold. When you show up, somebody's willing to sell. They bought at 1.4 billion. Some of the money generated from Siscandy. And in 40 years, the same number of years, they generated 26 billion. Jesus. Sometimes when you call these figures, it looks like it's utopic. These are real figures. They generated 26 billion in 40 years. Today is the 1.4 billion they put in 1988 is currently being priced for $40 billion. Not naira, not cedis. Dollars. Now, what happened? This guy found that they must align to their system. So they aligned a system called Coca-Cola. So my challenge to you currently is, again, do you have a Siscandy around you? It doesn't have to be this particular one, because they still exist. Do you have any Coca-Cola around you? A product offering, a system that is worldwide that you can align yourself with. Is there anyone around you? Align as quickly as possible. If you miss this train, do not allow your children to miss this train. I beg of you. That's something I found out in America. Everybody wants their child to be a medical doctor. Everybody wants their son to be nursing. And one of my conversations, I currently teach a lot of kids here. Things I'm talking about now, I have a lot of teenagers that I teach because I decided to lead their parents alone and get it. So I decided to teach children, teach a lot of kids here. And we do it every 2 weeks. And I'm teaching them this principle because their parents are lost. I can't help them. They're wasting time. So in one of those conversations, some of the parents say, "Oh, I'm excited. My son is going to be a doctor." I now asked a question one day in one of the discussions. I got upset. I said, "Okay, where do you want him to do?" He said, he's going to probably work in Memorial Hermann. I said, "Oh, fantastic." I said, "How much he's going to be making there?" He said, man, this guy, they started him out with $250,000. I said, "Oh, wow, that's interesting." I said, "Have you considered the owners of Ref? Because what you seek is what you find. You want to work there? I don't want to work there. I want to own it." Don't be too excited about $50 per hour. Don't be too excited about $40 per hour, $30 per hour. Be excited about owning the engine, the system that runs it. That's where we belong. That's why we're House of Sages. You can't be playing a small game. Don't be excited about the $20 per hour, $10 per hour, $15 per hour. Oh, I'm going to take extra shift today. Extra shift where? In a system that is owned by somebody who owns the system. Why don't you own the system? You don't have to own everything. Be at the dollar. I don't care when it started. Be part of it. That's all. That's what I'm asking you to do. Consistently. Do it consistently. Own a system. Be part of the system that's already running. Own it. Don't be excited about $50, $100 per hour. Your energy will soon be tired. They will force you out, whether you like it or not. But when you own, you're there for life. Ownership is the game. Next slide. I'm going to give you a story of Ronald Reed. Ronald Reed is one man who ran a non-system approach, but he became wealthy. But let me tell you what will happen to him. So just oppose Ronald Reed with Warren and Charlie Munger. Ronald Reed was a janitor, was 92 years, built an $8 million fortune. This, what he did, almost impossible for you to replicate it. He worked so hard because he worked so hard and he saved 90% out of $40,000 he earned. So when he died, he had $8 million. He lived happily with it, even though it was a little, that he confined himself to a one-room apartment. He lived peacefully. Nobody knew him because there was no system around what he was doing. Was he rich? Yes. I know a lot of us here are doing our thing and we're making money. So we're going to be like Ronald Reed. You're doing your thing. You're not in the system process. You're saving enough. You're engaged in a capital play, stocks, bond, treasury, bills, DRIP. DRIP is dividend reinvestment program. So everything you earn, you pull it back. Because that's one of the things Charlie Munger and Fed does. They don't take their dividend. They don't need. Their dividend is for acquiring businesses. So I'm going to challenge you today to say, in 2026, one of the things that I'm excited about our cooperative, and one of the things I'm hoping that the investment department will do when the time comes, you're going to be acquiring companies. What we're doing now is our gear one. We're just starting now. We're just getting momentum. We're just getting the vehicle out of the compound. The end game for the cooperative you have here is to acquire businesses. Capital play is the easiest way to become wealthy. Easiest way. Easiest way to become wealthy in the world is a capital play. For adventure, you don't have the skill set to do that because that's one of the major challenges we're going to face. Skill set. Or maybe you're not aligning with people who understand how this is done. I'm asking you to align yourself. You know, zoning, lock yourself in, get this understanding, push yourself. Because if you don't get this understanding, you work too hard. You work too hard. You will hustle too hard. Guy, like I told you, these guys who are doing capital play, they don't work too hard. I'll give you an example of Otedola. Otedola is probably going to earn close to 500 million this year from First Bank. By doing what? What did he do? He was not the one to work there. He's not even doing anything. He doesn't even know where most of the branches are. By aligning. I'm going to give you a story. There's a particular company I'm involved in. I'm not going to mention the name. We got into that company about 10 years ago, and we took position of that company. And I was in the process, let me not use the word I was in the process of that alignment that took 61% holding of that company. As a matter of fact, I was seconded to go manage that firm for a while. And when we got there, the company was being sold for 52 kobo in Nigeria. And that was 10 years ago. Today, that business is at 22.9. What did you do? We only stayed there to see that everybody who come here did what they're supposed to do. Praise. I was going there with calculator every day. Every day. The company has moved from 52 kobo to 22 naira. The power of calculator. So what it means is that if you had 1 million naira invested in that company 10 years ago, 1 million naira was still money that people put in their back pocket to go share you, right? At 52 kobo, you probably would have gotten 1.9 million units of that company. Alignment system. And today is 22 naira. That's 42 million naira. Come on, guys. What are we doing? So I bought that company for 1 million naira, 1.9 million units. 10 years after, 42 million. How else do you want to work hard and die without plugging yourself to a system that works? Just like Ronald Reed, he plugged into himself, did drip, live happily with Lulu, and never showed anyone how rich he was. Family and friends were not involved. You know, one of the greatest undoing of Africa is show off. Oh God, it's so nauseating. You know, have you come to a meeting and people are brandishing their vehicles? That's what I see in US, America, where I thought it wouldn't happen. It's worse in Nigeria. People brandish vehicle, brandish, they look where they are 30 days away from poverty. And I've never seen that among the Jews, Indians, Korea. They own everywhere. They own the best hospitals. They never brandish. The highest competition among ourselves is in Africa. We compete among ourselves. People don't show you what they're doing. People don't want you to even know what they're doing. It's very nauseating because we think too small. You know, sometimes they tell you, these guys are doing well. You look at them, they're doing well individually. You know, have you wondered why most of the hospitals all over the world, where Nigerians are the doctors, where the Nigerians are the nurses, they're not the owners? What a shame. No, Nigerians are the best medical doctors in America. Shut up. That story is stale. The best a medical doctor can do in that space is 30 years. Some of those hospitals are 100 and something years. When are we going to put ourselves together to build the best hospital and own it and not brandish ourselves as medical doctors, nurses? What are people who own it? That's where we belong. That's where we need to play. I don't know, in most cities here, the Indians have best hospitals. They own it. The same thing with the Jews. The best we do is to be the medical doctor, be the nurse. Come off it. I'm sick and tired of it. It's about time you begin to grow those skill sets to own the machine of systems. That's what I'm talking about. Next slide. I've spoken about this before. Next slide. I'm rounding up because I want to give time for question and answer. I know my time is far gone. I've spoken about Berkshire Hardware. Next slide. Rounding up. I have about. I've spoken about this. I don't know how it came up again. Okay. Challenges that I see. Okay, can you go to the former slide? Let me see if there's something I missed out. Okay, I did talk about this. Next slide. I'm currently I want to leave like 10 minutes for question and answer session. If we have one of the challenges I see is I mentioned most of the challenges, but let me just run through again. Let it go of what once served. The blind mind sees today and throws away the staff that stabbed him for a very long time. Cycle of associates. This is one of the undoings of our times, you know, sitting down and keeping what once served. Imagine what would have happened to that man by Ikeja Court who held close to his typewriter. Please, I don't know whether you ever did affidavits in Lagos. And then you saw those men with that typewriter. And then imagine that man loved that typewriter so much that he held it so tight, loved it so much that he wanted to transfer it to his child. That's what a lot of us are doing currently. We have held so tight to the things that once served us. Some of them even fed you, but their time has gone, they have expired. There is a new wave of prosperity thinking. that must be driven by systems. The era of going it alone and doing your own thing is gone. If you don't realize that by now, probably look at your age and find out where you are at. You're using the old vehicle to move, that's why you're not moving far. You're insisting yourself as a girl, when you must take this car to where you're going. You cannot. No miracle, no hand laying in front of your altar in 1st January will save you. It ain't gonna happen because the wheel you're using is extinct. And that's what has happened to a lot of us today. We are driving a wheel and a system that is going extinct and holding it tight like the man in the Keja roadside, using the typewriter to churn out affidavits. How many affidavits can you churn out with that typewriter in 1 hour, 2, 3? When an affidavit now can be put in a system and you churn out to 1,000. That's what I'm asking you to do. Let go of the typewriter. Embrace a system that works magic. If you don't understand how it works, go learn how it works. It works like magic. Old makeup and experiences, yeah, you love it. You're emotionally attached to the old system. You have fantastic experiences. You don't know how to learn a new. You don't know how to unlearn and learn. Can you plug into people who have learned and unlearned? That's the principle. In investment banking, we do a lot of grafting exercise, which is what we call mergers and acquisition. It's grafting in agri. Mergers and acquisition. The era of saying, if I don't know it, you don't know it. No, align with somebody who knows it. When I was in banking many years ago, we had about 92 banks. Today we have about 19. What happened to the other ones? Mergers and acquisition. When they say raise capital, I don't have the capital, but what can I do? I can merge with somebody who has. And how does it work in building wealth? Prior to this time, I was in treasury manager in the bank many years ago, and at that time, individuals cannot invest in treasury bill because treasury bill limits at that time was about 5 million. 5 million. So if you don't have 5 million, you cannot play. But 5 people with 1 million can play. And let me tell you the difference that happens in that space. 1 million can only get 10% ROI in the savings account, but 5 million will get 18%. Can you imagine almost 100% rise just by 5 people coming together bringing the same amount of money? That's a system-driven approach to wealth creation. So, and that's what we are imagining in our cooperative. I must tell you, we are running a cooperative platform where we're going to have process that only does investment. We're not going to have, if you want to borrow money, probably going to go join some other cooperative. But we're going to imagine a hybrid approach to our corporate system where you have a set of people who are just going to be there for investments. Long time. Put your money there for the next 5 days, you don't touch it. That's the only way we're going to create a billion portfolio. We're going to do that by savings accounts, borrowing 10,000, bringing 20,000. That's not going to take us anywhere. So no skill set for this level of thinking. Develop the skill set. Noise and distraction to focus on one thing for a long time to see through to success. That's one of the major issues. A lot of us have too many things we're doing. And there's so much noise around us. Too much noise. We're not zoned in enough. No, there's so much noise. I've met people who tell you they are doing 5 things, man, and they can pride you out. I mean, many years ago, people will tell you many streams of income. Yeah, many streams of income is fantastic, but there must be one stream that is developing, growing, funding the other streams of income. I'm going to leave you with this, and then we can take questions. If you're not plugged in any system, you're going to hustle to death. If you plug into a system, you're designing a model that allows you to grow a system approach to prosperity in 2026 and beyond that can outlast you. So take your bets. What do you want? Do you want to take more shift? I want to use that extra shift to learn how to build systems. You want to use your energy no matter what you do. You cannot work 30 days in a month, but a system works 30 days in a month, 365 Guys, what a wonderful time. Thank you very much for the opportunity. I love you all.
Thank you. Whoa, this is so deep today. Okay, guys. You guys, you need to go to the you need to go to the chat box and let's feel the energy in the house. Let's feel the energy. I want to believe. I mean, my own note is full, it's packed. Okay. Thank you very much, Oga Godswill. You've said a whole lot. If you have questions, you can raise your hand or you can ask on the chat box right away. Now, my own first question. Thank you very much, Mr. Goswell. I mean, you are nobody does this thing better than you, and your patience at understanding these things is. Tola, I can see you. Tola, see, we need you in this house. You and I need to link you with Mr. Godswill. We need all of you, all the energy, the heads, the good heads we have. We all need to come together and do this. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. My first question is, a lot of people will feel that Mr. Godswill, time has gone. Where do I start from? It can be very intimidating. For example, I'll give an example. Every time I drive in America, in fact, I have traveled a lot this year to speak at different cities. I get into those cities and I go to downtown and I'm looking at all these high rises. I mean, my people in Calgary will know I had that conversation. And I'm asking, who are the owners of this thing? And I don't see our people there. In fact, in all my travel, the first time I saw a Nigerian store in one of those high-rise buildings and one of those best buildings in downtown was my trip to Calgary. I saw one of us own a store there. And when she was telling me how she got that store, Gospel, you would not believe it. I can't even say the secret publicly, what I learned from her. And so it looks to me like we don't dare big things. We just go and sit in one corner. So I'm looking at all those things and I'm wondering, who are the owners of this thing? And then a friend told me a story that in New York, right, that where I used to work, every evening, every Friday night, it would just see that all the Jews there, they collect envelope. So it was going on for weeks and for months. And so one day he got upset to say, why are you not giving him envelope? And one of them told him that there is one building that they all invested in together. That so every week the client pays, all the people occupying the place pays, and so they share the returns to all the people. So they were asking him, is your money part of the whatever? Right? And so I am looking at our people, and we can't do all those things, but on another end, we gather money and then maybe we contribute. We actually contribute money. In fact, in Calgary, I challenged the pastors. I told them, I said, you're already used to collecting, people already used to giving you money. They trust you, giving you money without any return. How much more if you can guide them to a path where they can give you money for a return? So instead of going to build another largest auditorium in America or in the UK, why can't we collaborate and maybe buy one of these downtown? Because that's money for life, as it were. Right. And so somebody is looking and saying, Sagosu, where am I going to start from? It's already late. I'm 50. Let me just keep walking. You don't understand my reality. What would be your word to such a person who is saying, I don't have 100 million to start anything. I don't have 200 million to start anything. It's almost like time is gone. Is there a place for me? Because I know that's a thought in many people's heart. What would you say to that kind of a person?
Yeah, the story I said about Warren and Jennifer happened in their 50s. Every time people talk about Warren Buffett became so popular when he was already in his 70s. Today he's in 94 or thereabout. Major things that happen in life of people actually starts 40, 50 when you have made all your mistakes and you have become wise. The only one that is upsetting is 50-year-old people behaving like teenagers. That's the one that is upsetting. Okay. So for me, it's never late. It's never late to start with what you have. Let me give you an instance of what happened recently. Um, this is a life story that happened to a friend of mine. This guy, I trained him in investment banking, so we became quite close. He bought a first property here in Bodo, which I led him to buy. He relocated to Canada. He said he doesn't want to do a lot. He's not coping in Canada. To work, work, work. So I said, "No, okay, it's okay. You have something in it." I say, "Yes, it's okay." And we put it for sale. I said, "Why?" I said, "Look, because you have a capital that is not yielding. Just issue. You have a capital that is sleeping. So you have 50. The question I'm going to ask you is, what capital do you have? It doesn't have to be any asset. It could be your brain that is sleeping." So the guy took out that capital, flung it, realized close to 200 million, and put it in IBTC fund. First 1 month, the guy screamed, said he could not believe what was going on. He's creating enough cash to pay part of his bills here without even leaving his house. I said, that's what the world has been doing. Praise, what has happened is that a lot of us were told lies. Work hard. A lot of us, even worse, abroad, lies. So we're not given the metric, the process of how this thing work. Praise, do you know how many houses and building Nigerians own? Go back to my calculator use. Look at the square space of those buildings.
Hmm.
It's abroad that a man that has 2 children drive an SUV with a sitter behind that nobody ever sits. Between 80 and $100,000. Car notes for $1,005 every month.
Hmm.
He takes the car, he parks it in front of his office. He enters his office. He comes out at 7 p.m. The asset is left on the floor, gathering dust. See, there's so much that can be done. The first thing that can be done is to realign yourself, degrade yourself, be real. You live in a big house, downsize, deserve a flat, sell off, apply the balance into a capital play, generates wealth every day. Align yourself, like I said, put yourself together, family and friends, raise 100 million, raise 50 million, raise 20 million, plug in. Like I said, this is a dividend season. Close to 10 billion will be paid out. It's never late. How much will come to your pocket? I remember somebody says, I just remember, I don't know, somebody IT, I can't, Okbelo or Okwe said, I just received an email and then they pay me. That's the way to go. So there's no time that is late. You know, if you remember McDonald's, Ray Kroc started McDonald's at 56, 54, 56. I remember. If you remember the story of McDonald's vividly, he didn't have the money to raise to do that. How did he do it? He raised the money from family and friends. The same people who give him money for other things. The difference we have, praise, is that we raise money for nonsense. That's the only difference. We raise money for nonsense. It's here that people raise money to support for somebody for wedding. Then you get to the wedding, they spend $50,000 for wedding. They raise it from people. Come on. That same $50,000 can buy an Nvidia, and the guy will come to church in the morning and pray on top of his head. And he will carry his wife and go home. But he doesn't want to do that. He wants to wear white. He wants to go to a ranch to do the reception. And then he finishes all this. He goes the next day to go and do shift. Praise, what a stupid way of Africans living abroad. I can't believe it. You know what? They were sold a lie. Their parents sold a lie to them. They continued in that mode. So I'm old enough. Realign your life. Reassess yourself. Stop the bleeding. We are bleeding too much. We are bleeding too much. That's the problem. And we're going to bleed to death. You know, I once told somebody just this week, I told a guy who has a $60,000 car. He said, I have a car note of 1,004. I said, no, your brain says it's 1,004. I bring out my calculator. This time around, it's on my phone. I say, how do you know that these car makers has a depreciation on this car for 5 years? I say, what is that? I say, every month, what you pay on this car is 60,000 divided by 5. And then every month drops into that. So plus your car notes. By the time we do calculation, it came to about 2,100. That's your cost on this car. A car that is going to die in the next couple of years. I said, this same car, the same bank will borrow this money to put it in here. And you pay down to them the same way you pay down the car. That's the difference. The difference is this phrase. Otedola wants to buy an asset. He goes to GT Bank and say, GT Bank, I saw this asset called First Bank. I have $1 billion. They're asking me for 3 billion. Can you give me 2 billion? They say, yeah, we will take the asset as our collateral. You bring another asset that you're building, we'll add it together. We'll give you the money, you buy the First Bank. And then you know what? He uses the money made by First Bank to pay off GT. Come on, is this difficult to do? You have a big name around, you call it leverage buyout. Leverage buyout is use money, borrow money, buy a company, use the money made by that company to pay down the loan. Is it difficult to do? But it's a skill. So what we need to do is to find ways to begin to develop a skill set that is currently superior to what we have today. That's the way to start. Okay, somebody said, exactly raise money for nonsense. Okay, how do you smartly put together a smart? Secondly, how do you get the information to bring the right investment vehicle? Come on, investment vehicles are, the world is awash with it. I don't even want to talk about it. You don't need to leave your house. Just go online. If you cannot remember Stanbic IBTC. They have every investment vehicle you can remember. Everyone. I mean, I know how many accounts I've had people open here without leaving their seats. Because it's easy. Life, AI and IT has made things easy, and it has also created an avenue to become stupendously rich easily. I was just about to say that I'm in a committee for a niece's wedding in September. They are talking about contribution towards bridal shower of expenses. I love that. You go do your bridal shower. When they finish bridal shower, they will come back and continue to live in penury. Where do we look to get this skill set? Well, I'm currently giving you one right now, right? But what I'm giving you in 1 hour is not enough. You got to be able to zone in. Get out every book you can get to read. What am I talking about? You have a phone. There is data on your phone. So plug in on video channels, YouTube channels. Spend every morning and evening listening to this topic. For the next 30 days, if you do it consistently, your life will never be the same again. Which platform has all the investment vehicles again? It says Stanbic IBTC, right? Bamboo Nigeria. I mean, guys already have that. So the only thing we need to do, Praise, is to increase velocity of what we're currently doing. So increase velocity. How do you increase velocity? Like I will always say, degrade, adjust your square meter space. The problem the people at 50 are having is that they have gone to get big houses and big cars, paying for those houses and big cars, paying for nonsense. My question is, if you live in a 3-bedroom flat, your children have left house, downgrade. If you drive a big car, downgrade. Anything you're doing, downgrade. Push the excess fund to a system that will deliver you from this jet poverty. Bamboo is good. RiskVest is good. These companies are fantastic because they are already regulated. SEC has regulated all of them. It made things easy. You know, somebody said my wife currently works for IBTC. Yeah. So, Emeka, plug in. I remember many years ago, I told you to plug in. I believe you should plug in. Praise, remember many years ago when I looked at some people who said they are doing network marketing and at the end of $1 million in their money. I say, where is the money? Can you show me? Because they are not plugged into any system. They're plugged into themselves. You know, so I think that is what happens for people who think they are old. You're not old. Because a lot of people started this program in their 50s. Ray Kroc, the guy who started McDonald's, he didn't even start McDonald's. You remember he bought it from people who started it. I'm sure you've watched the movie. You know, so it's easy. It's not difficult. Develop this skill set. So I think that's the major concern.
Thank you very much, Oga Godswill. Yeah. This is what I'm going to do. I will, and house, I'm going to make this because, I mean, We strike the whatever when it's hot, right? One of the things I have asked is everybody who says they do finance in the diaspora here, and even in Nigeria, I've always asked them, can you show me a blueprint that this plan, if we follow it the way you say we follow it, in 10 years, all of us are going to be fine, all right? Then they begin to stammer, they begin to do whatever, right? I don't believe, I think what has killed Nigeria is miracle. It will happen suddenly. No, I believe in process. I believe in, right? What I'm going to do, God God's will, in addition to what your guys have been doing before, is I think I know the best brains on this matter, right? I'll get them to you. We'll sit down in a room and design something, maybe multiple investments, whatever that people can plug into, right? And we would say from the get-go, if you don't have 5 years, 10 years to be part of this, don't even join. We don't want all these
distraction.
We don't want borrowing. Yeah, I want to borrow 20,000. That will not take us any. We shouldn't even be thinking of that, because I have seen people. I keep asking. I've seen Indians do it. I've seen Jews. What is wrong with Africans? I mean, House of Saviors UK right now, they are launching something, a REIT, and they've gone very far with it as well, right? Why is it that? Because many of us don't even know that we are already bleeding. We are already giving money away, right? And I think the biggest problem has always been trust. Can I trust these people and blah, blah, blah? Because I think if we have a clear blueprint, we can drive these numbers, everybody can be fine. What I think is fair is something that allows somebody with $1 million to partake and someone with $100 to also be able to partake. Because the ones who have large volume will make up for the ones who have small volume, and then they can be part of something huge. That's how I think that our community is going to grow. That's the only way. Because we will come here and again and say this thing and say this thing. We've got to have a clear plan. So, God got you. I'm going to hold you by the scruff of the neck this week. I've told Tola, I've sent him a message. I'll get a few more people into the room, and let's look at something that can, because I don't like to complain about pastors anymore. Some of them started when we were 20 and we were running after girls, right? There is what we can do. We are not young anymore. There is what we can all do. There is a way we can all come together and build something. We have tech people. We have all the skills we have in this house. So what is stopping us? I think we can build something that can be a model for all the people, and then we can drive it together. So thank you very much.
Let me come in. Let me come in here. Praise. Let me come in here. I'm sorry I'm going to say this to you, okay? I love this. I want to be part of it. I'm going to drive you, want to drive it. But I'm done talking to a lot of people. Seriously, I'm done. You waste my time. I don't have time anymore. I'm too zoned right now. So it doesn't have to be more than 5 people, 6 people, 7 people who are serious. Don't try to bring everybody. I'm sorry. Let me disappoint you. It's never worked. Okay? 5, 6, 7, 10 people who are angry and hungry. I want to use that word. Hungry and hungry. Enough of trying to bring everybody. It's a waste of time. I'm done. I don't do that anymore. You can talk to Busaya when we leave this call. Talk to Busaya. That's something I started with Busaya and a few guys. I have told you before. It's amazing. That's all I can tell you. Enough of these shenanigans of trying to bring everybody together. Leave them. People have been already zoned for poverty, no matter what me and you do. That's why I don't talk. I told you I've stopped talking to parents. I teach their children because I'm done. Okay, so I want to zone it, reduce it. Few individuals, so that we get to a point where if you now want to come in, you have to pay a ticket of 2.5 million to join. That's when people now want to join. As long as you're doing this story, there is nothing is costing them. Story. Try to go join Boat Club in Lagos. Do you know how much it takes to join Boat Club today? 100 million. That's where the dollars did, yes. So leave them to be where they are and be doing what they are doing. Okay? Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, Oga God's will. House, we will get back to you If you are not in any of our groups, you are missing out. Join any group because I've spoken to Tola now. Tola is in. So I'm going to get Tola and Mr. Godswill set up a meeting, TPF and all our finance heads, in that meeting, and then we'll decide. And we are going to move. If it's 5 people, 10 people, we're going to move. We will make it consistent. We will trust the process. We will get these things done once and for all. We're not going to wait. Okay. So thank you very much, Oga Godswill. King's Angel.
Thank you so much.
I hand over back